engaging with even more people in the Northeast and telling them about nature and getting them enthused about nature. We've opened the Field Studies Room at Gosforth Nature Reserve. We've had open days there since, first open day since the pandemic, and we had 350 people come to that open day, and there's been lots more events as well. We've continued our citizen science program, and in the period we're looking at, we started the Discovering Northeast Orchids citizen science, and those of you who have seen the publications that's come out of that will be amazed, I'm sure, as I was, at how fantastic that effort has been. We're continuing to build our partnerships with other organisations across the Northeast, and we'll hear more about that later on in the meeting. And perhaps most exciting, or I find it most exciting, in that period, we launched our How to Be a Young Northeast Naturalist project, and we're going to be hearing more about that later in this meeting. So thank you very much for your support, which has enabled us to do all of these things, and we'll be telling you more later in the meeting.
I can't begin to say how wonderful it is to be back in the museum and actually hear a face-to-face AGM. And I must admit, we've had great excitement each time. The booking numbers kept on going up and up. So thank you so much. It is just so wonderful to see so many of you. I feel just so privileged and proud to be able to kind of kick off our celebratory look at last year. Thanks to all of you and all our other members and our funders, supporters and volunteers. Again, we just seem to be able to have gone from strength to strength and had an incredible year in 2022. I'm the first of a series of just very short talks. I would just really like to give you some of the absolute highlights from last year. As Gordon said, hopefully you will have been able to enjoy this little publication that got sent out around to you in Christmas. We always love putting together our annual review, and it seems to get trickier and trickier each year to actually squeeze everything in as well, which is a fantastic challenge to have. And I think as we emerge from the pandemic, the whole value of connection with the natural world is so important for people. So hopefully you've been able to enjoy that as well. And I think looking back at last year, and particularly when you read the annual reports of the Society, it was a long-held vision and dream for us to be able to improve the facilities at Gosforth Nature Reserve. Of course, people go outside and they want to enjoy the wildlife of the Nature Reserve, but for us to really to be able to welcome particularly more school and community groups, we were in desperate need of improving the indoor facilities. Thanks to funders and also members of Peel as well, it was a wonderful historic moment last May. A few tears were shed when the children there actually opened officially the Field Studies Room. And it's just been wonderful to be able to welcome so many more schools and community groups into that space now. So just to be able to fulfill that long-term vision was absolutely wonderful. Again, a huge thank you. I mean, there's just been so many people involved in so many different projects, which we're going to hear about this evening. But I think it's again, throughout last year, there were some volunteers who might have been volunteering in one capacity, but they've been helping out in more and more capacities as well. And just, they then sometimes introduce more friends and volunteers as well. So again, it's just constantly, it feels like a lovely snowball going downhill and gathering speed and growing. And the fact that we've just been able to reach many more people in a wider range of people. We're a very small staff team, but again, just the fact that we do manage to just have so much support from everybody. Last year, our membership grew to over 2,500 members. That's memberships, so a larger range of members. But again, a lot of those are volunteering with us as well. So the fact that we've got our special interest group coordinators running the field trips and the talks as well is just wonderful. It is absolutely key to the vision of NHSN that we're engaging with a wider and a greater number of people. And obviously, since the pandemic in particular, the world has gone digital. And so we've very much continued to build on that digital programme as well. One, I think, really particular good channel, and I'd really encourage you that if you don't subscribe to it, do join our YouTube channel. We've just had some amazing material made, just people sharing their passion, sharing their favourite places to visit. And I must admit, again, I think another lovely strand to our work is the fact that we have just incredible naturalists across the Northeast as well. So do also have a look at the Talking Naturally videos there, which will capture some of the stories of those Northeast naturalists. And obviously, for many members, you're also active yourselves on social media on various platforms. So thank you so much to those people who have been sharing our material on various channels, and again, just spreading the message far and wide. So great that we can continue to build that. Now I'm just going to hand over to Annie, who will tell us more about some of the partnership development that we've been doing this last year. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Claire, and thanks everybody for re-electing me. Thank you. I'm Annie Tindley. I'm one of the trustees, and it's my great honour to be so and to be here at my first in-person AGM. And I'm just going to talk a little bit tonight about the vast range of collaborations and partnerships that NHSN has been developing. Obviously, this builds on a long track record of doing so, but just a few highlights from the last year. I mean, obviously, we in NHSN have our priorities and activities, but these collaborations help us leverage other benefits across the city and the region for nature, of course, our passion, but for other kind of social projects as well. So we've been collaborating really to push forward this increasing mission to engage people across the Northeast through events and, of course, citizen science as well. So just a few examples. We've been working with Urban Green and Northumberland Wildlife Trust on BioBlitz events in Newcastle and working closely with them on education work as well. We've been working with the ERIC Northeast and BSBI on their citizen science project, on walks, events, but projects like the New Year Plant Hunt as well. We've been working with regional landowners, including the Heppel Estate near Rothbury, on events really to try and connect people with nature across our region. But really having that kind of a key focus as well on local children, the next generation of naturalists. So through the Lantern Fund, working with local children's charities, and also with kind of big names like the National Trust on our publications. Also, you don't need much reminding of our NHSN talk series and specifically the 1829 talk series as well. So this came about on another collaboration between NHSN and the regional universities, sharing research from early career scientists through the 1829 talks, really kind of building on that history. What's that, nearly 200 years history of NHSN. And of course, the main talk series, which shares research from local academics, naturalists and practitioners as well. After a period, of course, of being online, they are now back in person in Newcastle University's Curtis Auditorium, just across the way there. So I think I am now handing over to Jenny. Yes. There you are, Jenny.
So I am Jenny, everyone. So me and Des are going to sort of give a rundown of everything that's happened at Gosford Nature Reserve this year. I need to lean forward. So we had 1,715 sightings of 526 species last year. 207 volunteers carried out a variety of roles, from education to volunteer rangers. The summer saw the return of our open days, the first one since the pandemic, and we had 350 visitors. Okay, sorry. And Persimmon Homes withdrew their housing application, which is great news for the reserve. nest boxes are monitored at the nature reserve. So we've got 50 blue tit and great tit boxes, and they've been monitored for 14 years. Unfortunately, blue tits and great tits did not have a good breeding season this year, with blue tits having their worst ever. Pulley, which is chicks in the nest, ringed per box was an average of 5.5, which compared to the general average across all the years was significantly lower, which is similar with grey tits. But in much better news, we had a really great year for owls, as you can see on the pictures. We had 3 tawny owlets ringed, which was the first brood in a box since 2016, and we had 2 broods of barn owls, which are from the same female. 4 ringed in May, 3 of which survived, and 2 ringed in October. The main project we do in the spring and summer, from May until the end of August, is our constant effort site project, which has been running since 1988. The nets, 10 nets, are in the same place every week, and they're in mostly reed bed and woodland habitats. So we catch a variety of species, from summer migrant warblers to your common garden birds. Our most caught species last year were reed and sedge warbler, blue tit, chipchap, goldfinch, bullfinch. We caught the second ever Chetty's warbler on site, which was the first for a summer project, which you can see in the picture. And yeah, so I'm going to hand over to Des now for his further next bit.
Thanks, Jenny. Great. Thanks. I'm going to talk about Gosford Nature Reserve, what the volunteer. Oh, I've got to get near this. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about specifically about the Wednesday volunteers at the Gosford Nature Group. It would be lovely to think that the reserve could look after itself, but it probably wouldn't make such a good job of it as us, and it would just go a bit wild. So we have to go in there and help it to maintain as it is. We meet every Wednesday, mostly, and we have been doing that for some time, and we meet for every 3 hours. Everybody's welcome. You don't even have to be a member of the Natural History Society to come along and just welcome us. It's a great little group. You can meet people. You get muddy, you get wet, you get tired. It's great fun. Yeah, do come along, okay? I'm not quite, it used to be, well, it still is called the Wednesday Conservation Group, and I don't quite know why, because we also meet on the last Saturday of the month between October and March. And guess what? That is on Saturday, right? So we're looking for volunteers to come along because we've got bulbs and wild flowers to put in. So come along, even come with your responsible children. They'll have great fun digging away with trowels and putting in the wildflowers. Yeah. If they don't get put in, they may die, so we want lots of you there, okay? At present, there's about 25 of us actively, but because of holidays and various, there's about 10 to 15 get there every single Wednesday. And we've got a number of different issues to do. Now, the regular things that we do is to try and manage the reserve and conserve and enhance the biodiversity. And because of that, we have to do reed bed and willow clearance, path and fence maintenance, tree work, to silting. You can see here we've been making some new a new path there. And the particular job that everybody hates, but it has to be done, is the clearing. It is good fun. You get in waders, you get in wellies, you get mucky, you have a great time. So do come along, but that's another time of the year. Willow clearing, again, you can see them all smiling. They just have such a great fun. But if we didn't clear the reeds, didn't clear the willows, it would just take over, and the reserve wouldn't be what it is today. So we have to keep on top of it. Right. One of the more challenging jobs is to desilt the burn. You will not believe what comes down that burn. If you tell me, I've probably taken it out of it over the years. And here we've got a recent volunteer desilting the burn. If you've been around recently, you've noticed that the level of the burn over the North Lakeshore path has dropped by about nearly a foot since we desilted it. And it's a annual job from leaves and rubbish. Okay. Specifically, actually, I should go back slightly. We did have some problems with good old storms, Arwen and Dudley and Eunice. We had, you'll have probably known the reserve was closed for a while. We had to redirect paths. We had to take down dangerous trees, and we had to clear all that brush so that you could get round safely. And that is an ongoing problem because the trees are all getting a bit old now, because they were all planted at the same time about 200 years ago. So we're having to take out dead ones and we're replanting as and when necessary. Okay, but specifically for 2002, we had a number of particular projects. And the new one was the main entrance of the reserve, which you'll have seen if you've been up there. The field studies room that Claire's been talking about. And we've been doing some extra work on that, producing a dipping pond, and also we produced a nice bug hotel at the entrance. Has gone missing on there. Never mind. Okay. So when the Gilliards made the field study room, they had to put it on stilts because of the drainage. So we had this thing on stilts, which was a bit difficult even for adults to get in, let alone kids. So the volunteers managed to build, I don't know if you can see that pretty well, but we built steps on this side and a ramp on the other side, so it's good access. And at the back, we made a nice big platform and a seating area for the kids to come out for this activity area. And we built a dipping pond, which they absolutely love. More recently, this is at the entrance on the right-hand side. We have all from recycled stuff, except I think for the roof of things, is a bug hotel and a bench. And one of our volunteers, the lead volunteer, worked tirelessly for months on making that, and it is absolutely fabulous. And we hope that over the years, we'll get some residents taking up post in there. Other projects we've had this year was to start putting some benches around the reserve for people to sit quietly and watch nature, or in fact, sometimes just to have a rest, because it is quite a way around. And also we've been installing marker posts on the paths, because believe it or not, people get lost in it, and this will make it a bit easier for them. And we've also mended and resited the Pierce Hide. The Pierce Hide used to be where the Beck Hide is now, and it is now thingy. So there's one of the benches. We've put in 3 already. The other 3 are going in probably this year sometime when we get time. We've got more priorities. The marker posts are all colour coordinated and combined with the new map for the reserve, which some of you may have seen. And you can see the colours, so you shouldn't get lost. Okay. This is the Pierce Hide, which needed quite a bit of mending after we dismantled it rather roughly. And it's now over on, you can't see it, but it's at G, as opposed to where it was at E. The Beck Hide is now E, and it is at G. And it's a slightly back and above the lake. So in fact, you can get you're not just seeing the lake and the birds on that. In fact, the other day when I was there was a fox playing around in front of it when I saw from the Beck Hide. Shame I wasn't at the Pierce Hide, but never mind. Okay. Ongoing projects we have started, but it'll be a while, is we're making the Beck Hide an accessibility boardwalk. Those that know it, you know that you've got to go down and then up some steps to get to it, which is no good for wheelchair access. So we're actually building a boardwalk which will be about, at its highest, about 8 foot off the ground, and it'll be a flat boardwalk straight into the hide for wheelchair and accessibility access. And also we're producing another woodland meadow on the southern boundary of the reserve. Okay. That's some of us enjoying ourselves. That was a nice sunny day. We would be more wrapped up in today's weather, but do come along if you like it, and that's what basically the Wednesday volunteers have been doing recently. Thank you. And oops, sorry. And next we have James, who you either know or at least you'll have heard of from the Society Hour.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
Our senior naturalist. One of them.
Golly, I feel like I'm going to do karaoke now. Well, hello everyone, I'm James, senior naturalist with the Society. over the next few slides, you'll hear a little bit about NHSN's ongoing citizen science projects. But first, I'm going to start off by saying something you'll probably be tired of hearing about today is thank you. Just a big thank you to everyone who's helped make our projects work in 2022 and over lockdown. And not only to those who set about recording, obviously that's wonderful, we'd very much encourage you to keep doing it, but people who shared photos, led walks, even supported us on social media, it was because of you that they were successful. So the three projects, you'll hear more about ladybirds and orchids shortly, but one thing I would like to say is that you really are making a difference for wildlife, not just by generating valuable data that is usable by landowners and practitioners, but by really inspiring people to look closer at nature on their doorstep, something which will become a bit clearer in some of the slides to come. So we'll start off, first and foremost, with the bee hunt, which was now our longest running citizen science project, launched at the height of lockdown in 2020. As you'll see here, over 3 years, it has generated an amazing 10,000 records of some 60 bee species. It has generated over 19,000 resource views, namely articles written by a whole host of North East naturalists. And most importantly of all, over 408 people have taken part, which I think is safe to say that it was probably more people than recording bees to start with. So there are so many wonderful things to highlight from the North East bee hunt. So many elusive species found in a whole host of lovely places, but I really did love this slide. And this is a wonderful graphic pinched from Charlotte Rankin, one of our invertebrate specialist group coordinators, showing the diversity of bees recorded in cities across the North East. 50 species, that's 50 species found in people's gardens on their streets. Some lovely ones here, red mason bee, which some of you may see in your gardens. And for me, this really gets to the core of what NHSN is all about, noticing nature not just on mountainsides and on the coast, but close to home, wherever you are. Of course, there can be no citizen science without the citizens, people like yourselves who've got stuck in every step of the way. And throughout the bee hunt, you've helped deliver some truly wonderful opportunities. These pictures are just a few of those, but many of them show an event held with the Comfrey project at Bensham, which was an urban bee hunt, which had really, really good participation. But elsewhere, there have been field trips to Teesdale, to Berwick. There's been no end of Zoom classes, and I think you can see here that this cat was very much enjoying one of them in the top slide here. While records are important, of course, above all else, these projects have brought people together to celebrate wildlife, which I think is something we can all appreciate. So, obviously, it wouldn't be a talk about bees if we didn't pick at least one highlight, and I'm watching Louise here in case I get something wrong on this slide. So this one really stood out as a real success story of the North East bee hunt. You'll see here the lovely ivy bee, which is a relatively new species to the UK and predominantly a southern species. It's been marching north over recent years, and shown here on the map, you'll see how records generated as part of the North East bee hunt have really helped map its advance north. Goes to show that data really does help us learn new things about wildlife. So yes, we've covered the first one. On to our next one, and you'll no doubt have all been seeing communications about ladybirds recently, no doubt mentioning cemeteries. I promise you we haven't gone mad. You'll hear a bit more about that from my colleague later. Running now for 3 years, this project is a little newer, but you'll note the fab regional coverage on this map as people really start looking at ladybirds, a group which previously wasn't really studied in the North East. 2,500 records so far, 27 ladybird species, which I do believe is more than the number of ladybirds that were known in the North East before this project started. And here, just some more lovely pictures to celebrate the people involved in the project. To the top here, we have education rangers Amber and Helen engaging young people in the Hancock Museum about ladybirds. We have various photos here from field trips to cemeteries of people hunting for ladybirds. And even down here, we have a photo from a BioBlitz held in collaboration with Urban Green, really just bringing people together to celebrate these wonderful little insects. And with that, I will hand over to Ho Yin.
James. So cemeteries, you might feel it's a relatively lifeless habitat, but in fact, it's actually a very vital habitat in terms of for our wildlife. And as you can see, there are ladybirds that hibernate on the gravestones at cemeteries. And with the help of Mark Welfare and Gordon, detailed surveys have been carried out around the northeast to see how the distribution of the ladybirds, and this was helped by the volunteers from the invertebrate specialist group. And there are a wide range of species that utilize the crevices on the gravestones, and these include harlequin ladybirds, 18 spots, pine ladybirds, 7 spotted, and orange ladybirds, to name a few. And through your discoveries, we found that the cream streak ladybird has been recorded for the second time in South Northumberland, while over 5 records were found across the region in total. And the 18 spot ladybird is actually a relative, the cream streak ladybird is actually a relatively new arrival as well to the UK, and it's first spotted in the 1930s, so we're really developing our knowledge in their distribution. On the contrary, there were very few records of the 18 spot ladybirds within the region. However, through this citizen science project, more and more are being recorded, and so it's likely that the ladybird has been present for a very long time, but it's just there's been a lack of recording within the region, but through this citizen science project, that's sort of been remedied. And so the Discovering Northeast Orchids is actually the newest citizen science project to the NHSN, and it's first started in 2022, so last year. And so far, there are 91 participants and 1,600 sightings, and 27 out of 28 known species were recorded last year, and 12 walks were dedicated to this project. Through this project, we actually connected a lot with the Newcastle University Student Union. A lot of trips were organized through contact with student ambassadors from the university. And many of the students are actually not local to the area, and through this project, they were able to discover the different habitats around the region, as well as helping to record the orchid sightings. So through exploring your records, we realized that the bee orchid, a really iconic species in the UK, are actually spreading despite climate change. They're actually benefiting from the increase in temperature. And as you can see through the red spots, those are the newly recorded sites within the region just from last year's recording. And we can expect more red dots to appear as this project progresses. These orchids were found in B&Q bus stops, a McDonald's drive-through, and the most northern record within the region in Lindisfarne. Yeah. And through everyone's hard work in recording, I'm pleased to announce that a orchid atlas has been released called Orchids of the Northeast. And it features all of your records as well as lovely photographs from all the participants. And it's available tonight at the back if you're interested. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. And now I'll hand over to Alex for the next part.
Hi everyone, I'll be speaking to you about what the NHSN has done to support youth this past year. So no one will protect something that they don't care about, and no one will care about something they've never experienced. That famous David Attenborough quote has been the basis for our work. My bad. That David Attenborough quote has been the basis for some of our work with young people this past year. Well, I'll put that down. Our vision as the NHSN is to consistently inspire many more people to enjoy, understand, and protect Northeast nature, which has been a key focus for us with the younger generation as well. This target has helped develop our projects with young people this year, including the Young Northeast Naturalist Project and the Plan A for Northeast Nature. Over the past year, thanks to your support, we've been able to distribute over 600 nature activity bags, work with over 200 children across 5 local primary schools as part of YNEN, as well as connecting over 500 children across the Northeast to get more connected to the natural world through writing their Plan A pledges on how they're going to protect Northeast nature. This means that as it stands, our education ranges have inspired over 1,600 children this past year. Not only that, but the NHSN has also increased their involvement with students through the release of our new Student Awards scheme. This allows early career naturalists to gain valuable experience in the range of fieldwork, communications, research, and rangering to build towards a career in the environmental sector. These students, seen here behind me, went on trips to Jesmond, Lindisfarne, and Allen Banks near Hexham. On top of that, the NHSN has also begun offering long-term placements to students such as myself. I'm currently on a 9-month placement here at the NHSN, developing my skills as a young aspiring naturalist and being given new and exciting opportunities every day. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity and thoroughly enjoying every second of it, really. I'll now be handing over to Julie Ross, our amazing outdoor education ranger, who will tell you a little bit more about what we've been doing with young people this past year.
Thank you, Alex. Can I have the... Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Julie, and I'm the Nature Ranger at NHSN. In January 2022, thanks to the National Lottery Heritage Fund, we launched our Young Northeast Naturalist Project. We worked with 5 schools across the Northeast. Each school had a nature ranger go in every week for 10 weeks, carrying out nature-based activities. There was a big launch event right here in these rooms where all schools attended. The children received their nature bags. They found out all about the project and they took part in lots of nature activities with our volunteers who came along to help. We concluded the project with a celebration event, again back here, where the children received Young Northeast Naturalist certificates. The project was evaluated by Newcastle University and had some excellent outcomes. As well as school visits, each school had a trip to Gosforth Nature Reserve and enjoyed the education programme that we have to offer there, thanks to our fantastic volunteer education rangers, some of which are in this room. This is a quote from one of our teachers involved in the project. Can everyone see that? I don't want to just read it to you if you can see it up there. You can imagine how proud we were when we read that from Kay at Eastleigh. So, it's not just the staff and the teachers that had a great time. There was also the children. So hopefully this is going to work. And you can hear just what the children had to say. Please work. No. Technical support, James? Pardon? Oh, no. It doesn't matter. I will try and get that to play, so when everybody's spoken, we'll get it open. You can hear just what the children had to say about the project. I had to stop the video at 1 minute 30 anyway because of time. And the video is about 3.5 minutes long. So if you're around at the end, I'll get that working and we can just play it at the end so you can hear the children speaking, which is actually really lovely. These are a few posters that the children have been making to try and spread the word. And a particular favourite of mine, make a difference today and be a really fun guy, which was quite cute, all done by herself. Another project that we have delivered, thanks to Awards for All, and the Community Foundation Tyne and Weir, is our Plan A for Northeast Nature. In the next few months, approximately 1,500 children will have written their Plan A pledge for Northeast Nature. During our visits to schools and clubs, children have engaged in nature activities, discussed climate change and biodiversity decline, inspiring them to come up with their very own Plan A. These special cards, designed by Ruth Sheldon, a local artist who works downstairs here, will be archived in the Great North Museum, Hancock, so that we can look back and see what 1,500 young people said they would do to help with the climate crisis in 2022-23. If you'd like to know more about the project that we've delivered or any of our future plans, please feel free to catch me throughout the evening. We have a stand at the back with some of the work that the children did throughout that, some of the comments from children, parents, teachers. Yeah, let's have a chat, and I'll hopefully get that video working for the end so you can hear what the children had to say. I'm going to hand back to Claire now, who's going to tell you a little bit more about 2023.
So I hope that gives you quite a flavour of the last year. It does feel like a real whistle-stop tour. We cram so many magic moments in there, but it just really hopefully gives you an idea of the kind of the wider reach and just the number of people that have been inspired to do something for local nature. So I'm just going to give you a real whistle-stop tour now of our plans coming up for the forthcoming year. And just to start off, just to chat to you about a really exciting new project. As I mentioned earlier, it just feels like the heart of NHSN is people. And upstairs in our archive, we're aware that many of those people's stories have been captured over the last 190 odd years. But when we look at the archive, if we're probably honest with ourselves, we realise that in actual fact there's a lot of voices that aren't represented in that archive. And we realise this within the pandemic. And some of you may recognise the middle image there of the notes from a lockdown naturalist. Some of the contributors to that lovely publication are in the room tonight as well. That really helped us start our journey of making sure that we're getting those new voices into the archive and that we're better reflecting people across the region. We had wonderful feedback from members of how much they enjoyed the Notes of a Lockdown Naturalist during the pandemic. And it got us thinking, really, we should be doing a lot more of this. People love it. So we started developing a few ideas, and we're just absolutely delighted that, again, it's thanks to NHSN members' support that we've been able to have the finances, as well as funding support from the National Lottery Heritage Fund, that we're launching a new 3-year project, Nature's Cure in Times of Crisis. And I'm sure many of us will recognise the challenges from the pandemic. It actually made a difference to so many of our lives to actually have those moments out in nature and to connect with it. Maybe it was photography, bird watching, art, all sorts of different ways just to be able to enjoy the beauty and inspiration of nature. So I'm just now going to ask Kate to step up. Kate is our new project archivist. This is her 3rd week, so she's done particularly well. So Kate will just say a few more words about the project as well. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Hello, can everyone hear me? This is fine. Yes, hi, I'm Kate, and as Claire mentioned, I'm just in the door, so I'm not going to keep you for long, but I'm the new project archivist, working on the Nature's Cure in Time of Need project, which is a 3-year archive and social history project that's funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. And as Claire mentioned, it builds on the work that's been done with the notes from Knockdown Naturalists, which looked at how naturalists across the Northeast and nature enthusiasts kind of used and connected with nature to help them get through the COVID-19 lockdowns. So in line with NHSN's commitment to widening engagement and engaging a wider range of people, we want to sort of explore how communities across the Northeast, what their relationship with nature is like during difficult times. So we're going to be working with marginalised communities, doing workshops, and really working together with these communities. It's very much a participatory project. So we're going to co-create some stories and put them into the archives so that hopefully the North East Nature Archive will become to be a bit more representative of the diversity of stories that are out there in the North East. So that's me. And yes, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to get involved, so do grab me or email me, or yes, I'm over there by the now failed Tree of Thoughts. Yeah, so do come talk to me if you'd like to get involved with this project, or you'd like to get involved with the archive more generally, because there's going to be plenty of work to do. So yes, I'll hand back to Claire. Thank you.
And in true participatory style, Kate is literally trialling some activities tonight to really capture some of your stories and your thoughts as well. So please do take part in that before you rush away at the end of the evening. We've been absolutely delighted with the success of the citizen science projects. It's been really wonderful to see how many people have participated. Obviously, one measure of success is the number of records come in by the number of people recording. But I think looking at widening engagement as well, when we've had material out on the YouTube channel, again, it's just been wonderful how many people are learning more about nature, getting out there and enjoying it, just to the fact that we're doing those citizen science projects. We very much want to build on the 3 years of projects that we've done. So we will be continuing all 3 projects of the North East Bee Hunt, the Ladybird Spot, and Discovering Orchids. And I think it's really interesting just looking at this slide here. This shows the distribution of the heath-spotted orchid. You can see there just from the dark red squares, there's the small number of records which came out as a result of the 2022 records. So there's still a lot of places for us all to get out and see whether or not we can find the orchid there. So it is really trying to build on some of the success of those projects. Des started to mention some of the ongoing projects at GNR. And again, the volunteers, they do so much fantastic work at GNR. And I do feel so privileged because I get so much wonderful feedback in my position as director here. And the amount of good comments that we've had that really appreciate the good work that volunteers are doing, whether or not it's the habitat improvements, some of the wildlife monitoring, some of the welcome at the reception area as well. And I think it just feels like the reserve goes from strength to strength. And I think it's so important that it does continue to be an absolute hub both for wildlife and for people. We know that, unfortunately, the creep of urbanisation continues around us, but I think the positive opportunities to be able to engage people there is just such a strength for the site. We've got a wonderful growing team of education rangers, and again, the feedback from children and teachers from the rangers' experience there is incredibly positive. I must admit, just this morning, Rob Carr, one of our trustees who works at Environment Agency, and myself, we were just in the field studies room today having a meeting as part of the Ousburn Subcatchment Partnership, coordinated by the Tyne Rivers Trust. And that just felt so good to be there, because post-pandemic, some of these partnerships are really getting going again, which is really... We know that there's challenges within the local environment, challenges for climate change mitigation that we all have to manage with, but doing it collaboratively, will really bring much, much more strength to what we can do there. And there's a fantastic shot there just of the new boardwalk going in at the entrance to Beck Hyde that Des mentioned. If you wonder what that round cluster of volunteers are doing, do go and have a look at that next time you're at the reserve. It's a very swampy site. We don't have vehicular access to get to the work location. And Chris Wren, one of our volunteers, found an amazing system called helix screws, which are just like huge metal corkscrews. They've been shipped over from Finland, and it's enabling the team of volunteers there, they wind them into the ground.
And that will enable us to build a really sturdy boardwalk that should last for decades to come. So just wonderful that we're going to be able to have wheelchair access to the Beckhyde sometime over the next few months. So a great project to keep an eye on. As members, hopefully many of you will receive and enjoy our publications. So you will receive our North East Nature magazine 3 times a year, and also full members receive our North East Naturalist Journal. And I love those because it's just one of those reminders of all of us, we're part of this incredible rich history. So we're now going into our 194th year of the Society. And just on the left-hand side there, that's one of our earliest transactions that was produced. So we started producing our journals in 1831. We've gradually been improving them, and we do like to think that every single journal that we do, it gradually evolves from the latest edition. We do, as a Natural History Society, obviously like that concept of evolution, and we try and embed it in everything that we do, continually evolving and improving, hopefully. If you haven't got a copy of the Orchids of North East England yet, again, we've had wonderful feedback. It includes some of the social history, the fact that it brings alive the records of over 100 participants as well. So we shall be continuing to work further on our publications. And again, if you've ever got feedback or ideas on our publications, we'd love to hear from you. So that's a really kind of quick whistle-stop tour through some of the activities which will be happening for the next year. But I think really it is just that huge thank you. There's such a huge collective effort from members, supporters, volunteers, and our funders. Our overall vision is really to inspire more and a wider range of people. We want them to enjoy nature, to understand nature, but also then to go on and protect nature. And obviously we appreciate that nature has all sorts of challenges, and we want to respond to those positively and really collectively as well. So I've said thank you, but now I'm going to ask for a favour. You've heard about the Young North East Naturalist project, and we're absolutely delighted. Hot off the press for you is we have some take-home goodie bags for you, and I'd like to ask each and every one of you, if possible, please take home one of our new Young North East Naturalist toolkits. These are aimed at primary school children. So I'm hoping that whether or not it's a friend, a neighbour, a family, you could please pass them on. We'd really love to have your help to just get out there and reach even more people and keep on inspiring people. So again, just finish off by saying thank you very much indeed. It's been an amazing year, and I can't wait for this year as well. Thank you.